Hello, college sports fans. It's the college sports super fan. Let's get right into these conference championship games. These should be really, really, really exciting. I'm going to go in chronological order, breaking down all of the college football conference championship games. This is your place to get the complete guide to all of these exciting matchups. So let's start off with the Conference USA championship game. Western Kentucky punched their ticket to the championship game with a win over Jacksonville State at home, and now they have an instant rematch with the Gamecocks after winning that 19-17 thriller last weekend on the road. At home in Bowling Green off of a 50-yard field goal to punch their ticket to this game. But now in the rematch, the Gamecocks are favored significantly. They're favored by several more points. Here's the thing about this game, though, is that the Gamecocks have a serious injury concern at quarterback. I was very tempted to pick Jacksonville State in the rematch because Jacksonville State was going on the road playing Western Kentucky. They lose that game by 2 points. Now the conference championship game is at home. Jacksonville State is currently favored by about 3.5, 4 points. That defense is really, really good. However, I am concerned about the Jax State offense. I truly believe Western Kentucky is going to be able to win this game. Okay, now let's talk about the American Conference. This is a huge conference title game that could possibly have college football playoff implications. Likely not, but it also could possibly have title implications. It is Army versus Tulane. Now, Bryson Daly, he has been a one-man wrecking crew for the Army Black Knights, and Army does get this game at home because they were better in conference play, uh, undefeated so far, and of course they'll play Navy next weekend, so kind of a weird situation there. But so far, Army is undefeated in conference play. Tulane has to go on the road to play Army. If Tulane has a super impressive victory, then maybe they'll get into the college football playoff. Only if UNLV upsets Boise State, which we'll talk about that game next. But again, there's also the possibility that they might just let UNLV in, eating Boise State. So there might not be much of a chance for Tulane to get in. But here's just some stats I wanted to get into. Bryson Daly, the Army quarterback, he has been a one-man wrecking crew with over 800 yards passing and 8 passing touchdowns, but also over 1,300 yards rushing and 25 rushing touchdowns. He's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. And the defense has been fantastic. They have 16 interceptions on the year. They have a plus 12 turnover margin just because Army's offense just does not turn the ball over at all. But Tulane also has a really great defense, and they have been averaging 2.5 sacks per game. And get this, they have 5 pick sixes on the year, not interceptions, 5 pick sixes on the year. So this is a secondary that's really good. This is a defensive line that's really solid. And the Green Wave is much more explosive offensively. Their turnover margin is plus 10, so that's not bad at all. I think the Green Wave bounced back from that Memphis loss. I wanted to pick Army to win this game, but I do think Tulane goes on the road to Michie Stadium and gets the job done against the Black Knights. All right, now the Mountain West Conference Championship. To me, Boise State is not safely in. Yes, they've had a great season. Yes, they only have one loss on the road to the number one team in the country. That doesn't matter. They're still not safely in without this win. If they lose this game, UNLV will get the automatic bid and will go to the college football playoff. And I don't think they're going to let two Mountain West Conference teams in. So, I think Boise State needs to win and get in. UNLV thinking the exact same thing. So, how good is Ashton Jeanty, the very potential Heisman Trophy winner in that two-man race with Travis Hunter? Well, he has 2,200 rushing yards on the season and 28 touchdowns, averaging 7.3 yards per carry. Plain and simple, he's obviously going to win the Doak Walker Award. That's a given there. And the Broncos' defense statistically has also been very good. They have 3.5 sacks per game, 93 tackles for a loss, and 14 takeaways. But is this UNLV defense equipped to stop Ashton Genty? Well, they have been allowing just over 100 rushing yards per game. They have 84 tackles for a loss. And the Rebels also have a plus 14 turnover margin, which is very, very high. I think this one is going to be tight because UNLV does have a solid defense. They've proven they can stop the run. They turn the ball over they force turnovers quite a bit. They don't turn the ball over too much. However, the Broncos are at home on the Smurf turf. Albertson Stadium, tough place to play for anybody, especially in the Mountain West. Boise State knows what's on the line. I don't think they drop this one. I think they win at home by 3 points, but UNLV is going to make it a tight one. All right, let's move on to the Big 12 championship game. I think it's safe to say this is going to be a better matchup in AT&T Stadium than the Paul versus Tyson fight. I think that's safe to say here. This is going to be an epic championship game between Arizona State and Iowa State. And how could you not root for both these teams? They're lovable underdog teams that have each had incredible seasons. Iowa State has had their first 10-win season in program history. Arizona State was picked to finish towards the bottom of the Big 12. They had a projected record of about 3-9, maybe 4-8, and they're 10-2 with one of the best running backs in the country, one of the best young head coaches in the entire country. How could you not root for either one of these teams? Incredible matchup, but only one can make it to the playoff and the other will not make it, unfortunately. Statistically, these two teams are very, very similar. The Cyclones are more pass heavy with Rocco Becht at quarterback. The Sun Devils more run heavy with Cam Scadaboo at running back. And also Sam Leavitt is a solid runner at quarterback as well. But it also happens that the Cyclones have a weak rushing defense. Listen to this. They're giving up over 170 yards per game. That benefits Arizona State. But the Devils have a weak passing defense. They're giving up close to 220 passing yards per game. So that benefits Rocco Becht and Iowa State. So which one is going to end up taking advantage of the weaknesses of the opposing team? Well, ultimately, I think the Cyclones' defense is just a little bit better, and I think this game is going to come down to defense. And on top of that, Matt Campbell is the more experienced and veteran head coach. He may not be as risky in this game, such as the young head coach for Arizona State is going to be. As a result, I think the Cyclones end up winning this game by 3, getting the 12 seed and punching their ticket to the college football playoff. But again, it's going to be so close. Both teams are going to try to take advantage of the opposing team's weaknesses. They both have the personnel to do it, but I ultimately think defense is going to come up huge. Coaching decisions are going to come up huge, and Iowa State is going to end up winning this game. All right, let's move on to the MAC championship. This is a stadium that's seen a lot of successful football this year. They're playing in Ford Field. The Detroit Lions, 11-1 in the NFL. Pretty exciting. Now they got the MAC championship, Miami, Ohio versus Ohio. This is the one conference championship game that is a legit rivalry. The rest of them are not, so that's the interesting thing about this one. The Red Hawks, they won the earlier matchup at home 30-20, and Ohio was slowed down that day, but since then, they've gone on a 5-game winning streak, and the rushing offense for the Ohio Bobcats has been explosive, averaging over 210 rushing yards per game, which is interesting because Ohio typically has a pass-heavy offense. The Miami run defense is also mediocre, so that benefits this Ohio rushing offense. This Ohio rushing offense, excuse me. But Miami's quarterback, Brett Gabbert, is averaging 228 yards passing per game, and the Bobcats' passing defense has been terrible, averaging 207 passing yards allowed per game. So just like the Big 12 championship and the MAC championship, you've got teams that can very easily take advantage of each other's weaknesses. But here's another big problem for the Bobcats. Turnover differential, -2. That's not very good. Red Hawks, they have a positive turnover differential. Historically, they've done well against their arch rival, Ohio. They lead the all-time series 56-42 with 2 ties, and they've been playing this rivalry since 1908. It is an incredible, great American rivalry, and I do believe Miami, Ohio is going to beat Ohio twice this year. They're going to win this one by 7, so it's going to be a little bit closer than the first matchup. All right, the SEC Championship. This is one many of us have been waiting for all season long. And it doesn't matter what the opponents are. It's the SEC title. It's always a big deal. The winner gets a first round bye. The loser, they get to go to the playoffs, still going to host a first round game. So this is a tough conference, top to bottom. So let's get into this matchup between Georgia and Texas. Offensively, believe it or not, Georgia has actually been the better passing team than Texas, but Texas has been the better rushing team. Of course, that's not too surprising as Georgia has had running back concerns all season long. That Horns defense, however, especially after we saw the Lone Star Showdown, has been a lot better, and that showed in both of their recent matchups as Texas's defense allowed 0 points to Texas A&M's offense. Keep in mind that 7 points was a pick six, so that was the Aggies' defense that scored. 0 points allowed to Texas A&M's offense. Meanwhile, the Dogs gave up 42 points to Georgia Tech in 8 overtimes. They managed to survive, literally survive that. Texas is also +7 in the turnover margin, whereas Georgia is right at 0. So they're very close to having a negative turnover margin, which makes sense when you see how many interceptions Carson Beck has thrown this season. I think it's going to be very close. Obviously, Georgia won the earlier season matchup, and they won it by a good bit. And it's in Atlanta. This is a stadium that Georgia has seen a lot of success in over the last several years. But you know what? That Texas defense is a lot better, and I think it's going to be a low scoring game, a lot of hard hitting. It's going to come down to defense, and the Longhorns are going to get 1 or 2 crucial turnovers and win this game by 7. That is my prediction on that one. All right, just a few conferences left. By the way, if you like this content, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And hit that notification bell because I'll have a lot more content coming out this week. Last week, wasn't able to get to it as much due to my responsibilities at my full-time job, but this week I've got some more time off, so I'm dedicating more time to this channel. All right, the Sun Belt Conference. This is the only conference left with divisions. The rest of the conferences got rid of divisions, so this still has an East and a West. So let's get right into it. Louisiana Lafayette, they're going to host Marshall. Louisiana coming from the West, Marshall coming from the East. So the Thundering Herd, they will try to run the football. They've got a quarterback in Braylon Braxton who's really good with his legs. Running backs A.J. Turner and Ethan Bain, also very solid on the ground. University of Louisiana Lafayette, they had a great quarterback, but now they've got some injury concerns. And now as a result, they've got this backup quarterback. Marshall, on the other hand, they've had a couple of close games lately. The Herd had to come back from down 17-0 on the road against James Madison to win that game 35-33 in double overtime. But you know what? Marshall, they can run the football, they can control the line of scrimmage, they can control the clock. I don't trust ULL's backup quarterback. I think Marshall wins this game by 3, getting a mini upset to win the Sun Belt over the Ragin' Cajuns. All right, the Big Ten championship game. We're not going to get a matchup of the century of top 2 teams, but we are still going to get a top 5 matchup between Oregon and Penn State. Undoubtedly, Oregon is the number 1 team in the country. They have the only undefeated record in the country. Statistically, their offense is fantastic. Their defense is very solid. Their offense is better than Penn State's. However, Penn State's defense a little bit better statistically than Oregon's defense. To me, it's going to come down to big plays from these quarterbacks. You have the veteran Dillon Gabriel, who's been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country and breaking FBS records all season. And then you've got Drew Aller, who's gotten much better this season, but still has some weaknesses, still has made some big mistakes and really big games. He's done great against weaker competition, but I am concerned about him based on what I've seen from games where they have played top tier teams and teams ranked in the top 10. As a result, I truly believe Oregon is going to go into Indianapolis and go perfect in the Big Ten in their first ever season. They're going to win this game by 7, get the number 1 overall seed, and we'll have a 13-0 record heading into the college football playoff. And lastly, the ACC championship, because Clemson is still able to win possibly and get in. This ACC title late at night in Charlotte could potentially have the biggest impact on the college football playoff. So let's get right into this. Clemson can thank Syracuse for taking down the Canes, getting them to this spot, and they're going to play SMU. Now, in my personal opinion, I believe SMU should be in the playoff no matter what the result of this game is. The Mustangs have had an incredible 11-1 season. And yes, the strength of schedule, hasn't been bad. It's been solid. It hasn't been great for them, but they have beaten 2 ranked teams. They beat a ranked Louisville team on the road by 7, and they crushed a ranked Pittsburgh team at home who was previously 7-0. And then yes, the Panthers lost the rest of their games this season and finished the year 7-5. But still, at the time, 2 very impressive wins. Their only loss is by 3 points to BYU. It's currently ranked in the top 25 and ended up being a very solid team this season. So, me personally, I think SMU should get into the playoffs no matter what. But if you're the Mustangs, you really want to prove that you deserve to be in the playoffs. So that's why you want to win this game and take out the Tigers. The Tigers have been better at picking up yards offensively, but the Stangs have been better at scoring points, and they're much better defensively. Clemson's one big advantage in this game is that they are good at forcing mistakes, as they are plus 14 in the turnover margin. Very, very good. But sometimes winning the turnover battle doesn't always win you games. They won the turnover battle against South Carolina 3-2, but they still ended up losing the game 17-14. And ultimately, Klubnik is going to have a huge day through the air because this SMU passing defense has not been very good. So they're going to have to rely on Klubnik to get it done through the air. However, I just don't trust Cade Klubnik at this point. Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith have been so good on the ground, particularly Smith. I think he's going to be the MVP of this game. I think the Mustangs win this game by 7, get the number 3 overall seed in the college football playoff, and eliminate any possibility of Clemson reaching the college football playoff. Let me know what you guys think about these predictions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think is going to happen in this upcoming exciting weekend of college football? Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and continue to support the College Sports Superfan.